PICkit is starting to get exciting, and so is the Lunchbeat. So the Lunchbeat we had working with the breadboard version of the hex file, which I've since misplaced and will need to recompile. So we moved on to bridging the two together, so I'm able to program the Atmel chip using a PIC programmer, which has been the goal from day one, which is why I'm making these two at the same time. So the final parts arrived today. We received the inductor for the PICkit and these potentiometers. Wow, they are nice for the beautiful Lunchbeat. And we wired it into the header here, the AVR ISP header, which has a pin out like so. And then they get wired over down to the PICkit over here. So pin 1's at the bottom going up to pin 6 with those particular readouts. Now I found that AVR Studio 5 and 6 don't seem to work very well, so you have to use a program called AVR Dude. And I found a GUI front end called AVR Dude S, which is quite handy because it lets you pretty much, well, let's have a quick look, set all your things, which is fantastic. Now, we had a bit of a problem initially because we couldn't get it to detect any chips. So up here we've got the COM port set. There's the actual program that sort of runs as an emulator for the AVR ISP software. So it allows the AVR software to be detected, or the PIC hardware to be detected as AVR hardware. Very good idea, very, very fantastic. So we swing back over here, we've got a reset button. Now to program the chip, or to do anything with the chip, you have to hold that reset button. And that lets it program, it lets it detect the chip, which I found. So the programmer I'm using is AVR ISP Mark II. So when we hit detect, notice the LEDs dim slightly when the reset button is being held, which is tied into a 10K resistor from what I remember. That allows it to program, which is pretty important, as you can imagine. So far we've been able to erase the chip, and the Lunchbeat is no longer functional at all, except the LEDs come on for whatever reason. And I'm able to now detect the chip by holding the reset button, so it automatically detects it as an ATmega 328P. So the next step for me is to compile some code, and I don't know which software to use for that, but I'll have a look into that and we'll see what I can work out. But that is just a quick update just on things I've learned. So it is possible to, by the looks, to program and manipulate an Atmel chip with a PIC programmer, which, you know, it's quite interesting to me anyway. And we're still waiting on those right-angled headers. As you can see, this one just goes straight up. Anyway, we'll have an update very soon. Program attempt with no chip in. A feeling that's an error. Looks pretty cool though. Back to it. Well, we managed to erase a 12F508 using the PICkit 2. The VCC/VDD, I've actually had to feed in from an external source, which is just a USB cable, so 5 volt going in there. What I found is that this particular PICkit doesn't seem to provide enough oomph. Now that might be something to do with the transistors I've used. I'm pretty sure they were what the other fellow used in the schematics I followed, but you know what? Maybe not. So anyway, feeding that in manages to program this, or rather just erase it. It's good. You want it erased. Let's just have a look. So here we go. So it's finally done the whole erase thing. Let's give it a read. It's all blank. Because I was getting this message. And I had a look on the VDD. We were getting about 3.6, I think, which is a bit lower than they'd like. But now it says erasing complete, and if we do a blank check, it actually verifies it's blank, as opposed to before where it would just say it's erased, and then you do a read, and you'd get pretty much just random code throughout here, not Fs. I did manage to turn on the yellow light, which I think indicates a something. Anyway, using PICkit AVR ISP program. And then it complained about something, but it did erase the first 4 lines there. They all became Fs. The rest was zeros. So anyway, look, we've still got an OzCal value, so that's fantastic news as well. So that's just some progress. So I'm definitely getting somewhere. Now I've accidentally gone and I tried to upgrade the firmware on that PICkit, and it no longer works. I think just the red LED flashes. So we've still got this one. I think this is unit 1. I think that's unit 2 over there. I thought I had fried this one, but it's still going, so I'm quite happy with that. Looks like the virtual machine I'm working in doesn't like USB devices changing but keeping the same IDs. It's complicated. So there you have it. That's programmed. So we've got clock data. Let's have a look on this side. This is just a, what was it, a 12F508. So it's flash. So at the bottom there, the grey is ground, and we've got data or clock. The next 2, empty. VPP feeds in on the black cable. And then of course we've got our USB cable, which has ground and 5 volt. Feeding into VDD. Alright, let's get over to the, let's see, what should I do first? I might try fixing that fellow first. Get his chip reprogrammed. Once I've got him working, we'll go ahead and move on to the Lunchbeat, attempting to compile the firmware first, and then get it onto the actual chip. This is quite fun. I do wish that there was sort of a... I guess it depends on what chip you're using, because I could just put a wire directly onto the USB and just steal that, and that's 5 volt. It would save me having this cable, but it's curious as to why it shouldn't require an external source according to McRetro. At least the documents I was reading anyway. So, oh well, let's move on. Another reason not to use non-standard schematics and hardware when you don't quite know what you're doing, but it's fun nonetheless. So here we are with the chip out of the other PIC, and hopefully we've got it wired up correctly. Here's my writing. That is 20. So VDD is coming from an external 5 volt source, the USB again. We've got VPP up the top there, data, clock, and ground is on 19. It's also somewhere around 12 or 13 or 11 on the other side, but I've stuck most of it on the right hand side. And there, of course, is from the actual PIC. So in real life, that's what it looks like. A mess. Gotta be very careful of my ground cable on my USB there. So I've just gone ahead and zapped the detect thing where you just choose the device. In this case it's a PIC18F. Blinks a bit and it says device found. So if we do a read, we should have some code on there. It'll be gibberish to me. So there goes a whole bunch of code, a bit of EEPROM data, lots of Fs. So that's that code, and we want to flash on here What are we trying to flash? Trying to flash, how do you add a thing? Auto import and right device, I guess. So we've got a few different things here. We've got ASD, that's the older version. Where did I put it? It's in one of these. Nope, I've lost it. I'm going to go find that code. I think it's PK2V023000. I found it. It's flopping around in program files. So there it is. Okay. Oh, auto import X and right device. Okay. I generally like to press a big button that says right afterward, but that's fine. Maybe there is one. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. So that's programming as we speak. And of course, as soon as I look over here, the red light turns off. But click button again to exit. What's it want? Programming successful. That's. I'm happy to see that. Click button again. So if we read that back, let's have a look, see if I've got a hex program on here that works. That. So the first things here, we've got EF85. So let's see if we can find EF85 on this one, which I can't see. How do I zoom? How do I zoom on this? It worked! They're both programmed, so that is some good news. Just means I need to feed in an external voltage, which means I should now be able to program the Lunchbeat successfully. I'm guessing when we erased it previously, we needed a partial erase, so we would have ended up with some code still left there that it couldn't sort of scrub off because there wasn't enough voltage going through. So let's see if we can get that hooked up, and we'll go from there. Very exciting. There we go. We've got everything wired in. So going from the PICkit, we've got data lines and the programming voltage. We have our VDD running in from the USB cable, which is grounded onto the PICkit. These little corners there are grounded. That's very helpful. And yeah, now we just need to fire it up. I actually need to create the code first, compile the code. I should do that right now. Alright, we've got a lot of LEDs coming on. Not quite sure why that's happening, but let's go and have a look at what I've been doing. So, we've got, obviously, first and foremost, the PK2 AVR ISP version 0.2. That allows the PICkit, it's sort of an emulator. So I'm pretty sure I explained this in a previous clip, but it's an emulator. So you choose COM port 3, which has been set using a COM port emulator, which I've forgotten the name of. Anyway, COM port 3. This guy here, we need to set to COM port 4 up the top there. We're using Atmel AVR ISP v2 because that's the closest match that this PICkit 2 clone has. Now the AT-Mega MCU, the chip, I hit detect initially and we got unknown signature. I hit it again while holding down the reset button, which is that nice little red one in the middle there, and lo and behold, we have a successful ID. So that indicates that it is now IDing things, which is good. So we're just going to go and give it a quick erase, which is that. It's already ticked. Pretty much just got to hit return, but I need to hold down that program button at the same time. So This should be interesting. If I move the Lunchbeat across a little bit. Is that done? It says it's done. Seemed a little too quick if you ask me. For some reason I've got all 3 LEDs on, which is kind of exciting because I've never seen them all on at once, and they haven't turned off like they normally should probably. I've lost my mouse. So there we go. That is let's just do a read. Oh, I need to hold down the button. I missed that one. It's very hard to do one-handed. No, don't erase the chip, read the chip. Oh well, it's a step in the right direction. What can I say? Oh, do I? No, I don't need to hit that. Oh, focus. So we went a bit more verbose. It's doing something. Alright, let's try and get the software compiled anyway so I can move on to actually programming the damn thing. I haven't had much luck programming using what is it? PK to AVR-ISP. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the Lunchbeat as being the source of the problem. I suspect it's the software, but we'll find out. Because at the same time it could be this hardware. Anyway, so we're going to use 5 volts from here again. We're going to program directly into the ATmega 328P, which is this chip. Looks very similar to that one, but they are very, very different beasts. So let's get some things written down, because if you don't write these things down, you mess things up. It's always good to keep a record of what you're doing, just so you know what you're doing. So let's do this. Third chip. Well, that's our ATmega 328P wired up. So we've got a nice big mess. I'm glad I've got some sockets left over. We've got, what have we got? So reset is VPP when you're talking ATmega. Reset is VPP. Remember that one. Let's try programming it. Or erasing it, or reading it. Reading it, then erasing it. Yeah, that sounds like the best part. So it's still wired into the old PICkit. Let's see what happens. And of course, the camera runs out of film. It's memory. So, turning the second LED on. The first one is very bright. Let's just cover that up so we can see the second one. There we go. There you go, and I can turn it off. And that's the future of everything. So I'm going to keep at it, and hopefully soon I will